Add a new section under recommendations for DOH Secretary Francisco Duque III, and under which is this recommendation: to heed the call of the 14 senators who signed Senate Resolution number 362, recommending the resignation of the Secretary of Duque for his failure of leadership, negligence, lack of foresight, inefficiency in the performance of his mandate, resulting in poor planning, delayed response, lack of transparency, and misguided policies and in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, evidence of conflict of interest, and perceived tolerance in the massive corruption in PhilHealth under his chairmanship, leaves him with no decent option but to resign. Period. The public has suffered enough and can no longer wait for the Secretary of Health's soul-searching endeavor.
An objection.
Mr. President, before I accept,
Sorry.
let me let me place on record, because I keep on hearing Secretary Duque in the media and the pronouncement saying that he does not have anything to do with it and he was not aware. Something to that effect. Mr. President, we find it really, as we look into the records, Secretary Duque is liable for the unlawful and illegal release of IRM funds because in the Board of Directors, in both the old law and the Republic Act number 7875, the National Health Insurance Act of 1995, under the Board of Directors, the composition of the corporation, if you will look at it, it says the corporation shall be governed by a Board of Directors. When we all know what we mean by govern. Ano? Now, hereinafter referred to as the board, composed of 11 members as follows. Number 1, the Secretary of Health, period. Number 2, the Secretary of Labor and Employment or his representative. Next, the Secretary of DILG or his representative. Secretary of DSWD or his representative. President of the corporations, President of Labor, etc., etc. Mr. President, it is very clear in the law. Siya lang, yung Secretary of Health, ang hindi pwedeng his representative or his representative. Siya talaga. So hindi pwedeng, di ba, na andun yung representative or something to that effect. So with that, Mr. President, I accept the amendment of Senator Lacson.
An objection. Approved.
To continue, Mr. President, still with the recommendations of, from Senator Lacson, for PhilHealth, to add the following. Among the proposals to allow expeditious and efficacious conduct of the COA audit are as follows. A. Access to PhilHealth fraud investigation reports, which are only accessible to the Office of the PhilHealth President and Chief Executive Officer and the anti-fraud units of the corporation. Semicolon. B. Access to an offline clone of the entire PhilHealth database for COA to conduct some procedures outside PhilHealth network and office premises, such as in the performance of cross-agency data analytics, open and close parentheses, i.e. data comparison from PSA records, to produce more relevant audit information, semicolon, and, comma, letter C, deputization to conduct investigations of HCIS and HCPS, considering that presently, private institutions are not within the ambit of COA's audit. Period. I accept, Mr. President.
Before we act on the motion, I'd like to just place into the records that the proposals mentioned by the Senate President are not originally mine. They are contained in the 21 June 2019 letter of COA Commissioner Pabia to Secretary Duque himself as the chairperson of PhilHealth Board of Directors. The recommendations serve as concessions to be made with PhilHealth to aid in the expeditious and efficacious conduct of COA's audit to curb fraud and improve the existing systems and processes, to which Secretary Duque did not bother to take action, nor did he have the courtesy of responding to the letter of Commissioner Pavia. Instead, it was Jovita Aragona, the Senior Vice President, who responded in a letter reply dated 8 July 2019, reasoning out that the proposals made by COA auditors will put PhilHealth at risk of violating the stringent requirements of the Data Privacy Act of 2012. But, you know, SVP Aragona's position became untenable with the issuance of Privacy Policy Office Advisory Opinion number 2020-016 by the National Privacy Commission itself, saying that, and I quote, "We must be reminded that the processing of information necessary in order to carry out the functions of public authority in accordance with the constitutionally or statutorily mandated function pertaining to law enforcement or regulatory function subject to restrictions provided by law is one of the instances where the application of the Data Privacy Act of 2012 or DPA and of the DPA's IRR is qualified or limited. This means that when the personal information is needed to be processed by a public authority such as the COA, pursuant to its constitutional mandate, the processing of such personal data is generally allowed by the aforementioned enactments. So just to add to the enlightenment of the sponsor and our distinguished colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President. Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. And to continue, still the Senator Lacson amendments, still under PhilHealth in recommendations. Include a specific provision on the guidelines of all case rates, which shall provide that reimbursements should be based on member patients' actual hospitalization charges and professional fees, or the amount of all case rate, whichever is lower. PhilHealth incurs significant operational losses from the many cases when HCIS and HCPS were reimbursed the full amount per all case rate, even though the actual hospital charges and professional fees incurred by the member patients were lower. With the inclusion of such provision, the policy will not appear to unduly favor HCIS and HCPS to the detriment of the agency and of the government. Still on this point, another paragraph. To maximize the utilization of the machine learning identification, detection, and analysis system, MIDAS, in order to effectively and efficiently validate voluminous claims data and detect overutilization, multiple claims, and other fraudulent activities. I accept, Mr. President.